Hello, everybody. I'm excited to be here with I'm going to call you my dear friend because I feel like we've just connected so deeply over the past few years. You took one of my storytelling workshops, was like, I don't know, that must have been 5 years ago now or something. But anyway, love you, Michelle. Michelle is a phenomenal woman. She's a woman in construction, which is unique, but a growing industry for women. And she's a big supporter of that, but she's also an author in our Born to Rise book project that just came out and is a Wall Street Journal bestseller. And her story is very powerful about creating her own foundation, which is part of her, being in construction, right? It's like a great metaphor for how we can live our lives with success. So welcome, Michelle. How are you today?
Thank you. Good morning, Kim. Lovely to be here and love you as well. I support everything that you do. It's so impactful for women and for men. This has been such a great journey with you. And yeah, feel that soulful connection with you. Doing that, story workshop with you several years ago really is what sort of launched this unfolding and this, the really Kickstarter of, going forward and building this foundation that I needed to be able to support me to find more joy, balance, and success.
Yeah, yeah. So in saying that, obviously you have a desire to unravel those stories, what I call almost our inner narrative a little bit. But this was a little different because we were writing a chapter that was going to be included with a group of women. So what drew you to the project? What drew you to this idea of being an author in an anthology?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, first of all, just right off the bat, I knew that I would be 100% supported by you and Bryna, our publisher. That was a big part for me because I knew this was going to be a safe container, and the women that were going to be attracted to this anthology were similar to me, the sort of peeling back of the layers in our lives and sharing our stories so that we can kind of normalize those conversations about what women go through.
Yeah.
We tend to suffer in silence. I was certainly one of those individuals. The mask that I was putting out there was that everything was great. I was highly successful. But the fact of the matter was that was true, but I was also suffering in silence. I was also hurting and I didn't want to speak about it. And so this project, as a little terrifying as it may have been to say, okay, now I'm going to share my story in print, I wasn't doing it alone. There were other women that were stepping into this container to say yes. And we were there to be able to support one another and know that there's a lot of strength behind this book.
Yeah, and I study Buddhism, and one of the biggest teachings is yes, life is suffering, and they don't mean it in such a tragic kind of way, but it's true. And so we all suffer in some way, and there's also a process to relieving suffering, which is what I love about the Buddhist tradition is they outline this path, and I think part of that is really being in community to say, I'm acknowledging that I'm suffering, and let's talk about it and make it more normal so there's a lot less of it, right? And it's that transformational piece that I think is so powerful. So thank you for talking about that. And I think it takes courage. So kudos to you to do it because it's not a normal thing to. I think people think, oh, I don't want to be gloom and doom, but it's not gloom and doom. It's just the reality of what we're all going through. Yeah. So once you kind of joined the group and we started meeting online, what really came up for you? What was exciting? What was scary? What felt too vulnerable or maybe not vulnerable? What was really happening there for you?
Yeah, I love it. I can remember the first, collective Zoom call we all jumped on together. And, there was some familiar faces and then there were some new people. And, there's always this, you're getting people together. Are you going to connect? Are you not going to connect? And there was just a great energy, even through, our little Hollywood squares of Zoom. And, you see that everybody sort of, there's an anticipation, there's an energy of where is this going to go? How is this going to unfold? How are we going to put this together? And one of the things that I've learned over the last couple of years is, we worry or we have anxiety about the unknown, right? We don't know where this is going. And, there's a little excitement there too. But we can really evolve and surrender and let go, and we can't even imagine what it's going to be, right? And so, going along with that journey and saying yes, even though we don't know where it's going to land. I can tell you, at the end of this, looking back, it was, I couldn't even have imagined. I couldn't
Yeah.
even have thought that, because there's no experience that I've gone through that, paralleled this. And so
Yeah.
I think that it's really a leap of faith. Like you said, there's some courage involved in there, and being brave and showing up with vulnerability. But when we say yes to these things, we want to show up, and I wanted to show up fully 100% and see where it brought me in the end.
Yeah. It's like you're getting to heal, but you're also helping others heal, by that support that you mentioned. And then we did a photo shoot, right? So I'm a photographer, got to spend one-on-one time with you all doing your photos. Loved that with you.
It was so, oh my gosh, it was so fun. Just first of all, to get dressed up, but again, dropping more of those layers, right? I'm going to be visible. Your photography is beautiful. And now this is going to be out there. I'm showing up, and I can remember at one point, holding my breath during the photo shoot, and when I was able to say, breathe, as, oh, okay, yeah, those are some of the best photos.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just another great layer to add to this experience. And again, this sort of peeling back of the personal layers of healing and transformation is showing up. How do I want to show up to this project?
And I think a lot of people have these fears or ideas that I don't need anything like that. I'm fine. And that may be true in a lot of ways. And I think when we go through things like this and actually see ourselves rising, meaning that we're expanding, we're exploring and seeing the more in life, then we realize, wow, you know what? Maybe I'm limiting myself by not stepping into things and saying that yes. So I love what you're saying about that, because I've watched you, Michelle. I have watched you. You've danced in a lot of these arenas, and you've taken these opportunities that come to you to explore. And I've just seen you. I don't even know how to say it. I mean, you're lighter. You're always smiling. You're so beautiful. It's like it's coming through. And it definitely did in the photos. And then
Thank
we
you.
got to go on retreat, and this was like, well, actually, let me back up. Like you had to write your story. And so what was that like? I mean, that because a lot of people say, oh, I don't have a story or whatever. But you and I got together, we talked, we went through kind of just me asking you a bunch of questions and listening to these things, and came up with this beautiful story. How was that for you?
Yeah, that was amazing. And I'll tell you, I always say I don't have a story, I'm not sure which story to tell. I have a lot of stories. The problem is, sharing them and having them be out there, and are they going to hurt somebody? Is it going to make me uncomfortable? Is somebody going to feel differently about me? And so what I loved about that supportive process that you provide is, we sat down to have a conversation just like this. And how we came up with the story was, we talked about this leaky roof. I was just happening to be going through this. And then all of a sudden you start tying the threads of, this building of the foundation, and the difficult summer I had last year, and, this dark night of the soul, and all these things. And it became effortless. I still have in my workbook here, all the little stickies. I had a sticky note, and I was writing so fast to make sure we captured everything, because it was like gold. It was so effortless.
Yeah.
And it was just fantastic to be able to put that all together, work on it over the next couple months, to edit it and have it be something that someone else can relate to, right? The goal was always, if one person benefits from hearing my story, then it was worth everything that I had gone through, because in the time when I was going through it, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know why I was going through this. And so there's that nugget of hope that
Mm,
brings you through to the other side. So as uncomfortable as it might be to share that story, and we don't know where it's going to land, at the end, or I knew at the end, it would be worth it. And
yeah.
I think that's really the important part of when we're thinking about sharing our stories. If it's uncomfortable for us, think about what it will mean for somebody else, and how will it transform for them and make them feel not alone. And I think that's the key part of this.
Yeah, and I think your story is so inspiring. I really do. We all go through struggles, even when we're successful businesswomen. I mean, you had a huge steel company for a long time, then you didn't, and then you worked for people, and then you have another company. And this is the dance of entrepreneurship as well as just life, right? We go up and down, and your resiliency is really what is shining through in that story for me. And I think that's just a reminder that we do have that in us, and just to trust it. And so it was so powerful. And then we got together after, we had all written our stories, we'd submitted our stories, worked with Bryna's beautiful team of editors, and we shared our stories for the first time live with each other at this retreat. I mean, that was like crazy powerful.
Crazy powerful. You know, we have these calls, right, leading up to it. But then to be able to be in person with one another and actually hear those stories, the book, it's not like we went through the process, the book is published, and you read all the stories inside. This was, you get to see the woman, we get to see each other, we get to be in sisterhood in a very intense time frame over a couple of days, and the healing that continues to happen because one shares a story and your tears are flowing, and another shares a story and maybe you're chuckling, but you're like, wow, this person is so amazing, and who are they as a person? And then we got to spend time with one another, either at dinner or at lunch or breakfast, and afterwards talking. And there were so many synchronicities, and there were so many heartfelt moments. And then again, it just solidified it, like, we're doing this together as a group,
Yeah.
as a community. We're going to launch this together. We're here to support one another. When one of us maybe was having a tough moment, we could reach out with each other and bolster one another up. Just
Yeah.
huge, amazing connections that are going to last a lifetime, right? That
Yeah.
go beyond the end of the book or the launch of the book, or the bringing it out there into the universe and sending it out. These are connections that are real.
Yeah, and it's funny because some of the new authors I've been speaking to about coming onto the project have reservations like, oh, I'm not X, Y, and Z like these other women. But even our group was extremely diverse. And I think what made it so beautiful was that we could connect to the commonality of wanting to create herstory, create these stories that would hopefully support others and help us heal. And like you said, like, you're with other women who are on this path of unraveling and healing and doing the things because we want to expand. We want to have rich, full lives. That commonality is enough for anyone coming in. You don't have to be a career person or have some incredible something or done some amazing thing, because like you said, we all have stories. It's really that introspection that I think has really brought us together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And then of course we hit Wall Street Journal bestseller. You guys all those stories that you heard at the retreat actually went to print. Thanks to World Changers Media. It was just an incredible team to work with Marie and Bryna and Alexa. And man, that was exciting. And you all were, part of that. Like, you all have followings of your own and friends and family. And with that, really sharing of marketing, I mean, gosh, how exciting is that? That was a great thing too.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I think that the support, like you said, we got from Bryna and World Changers Media and her team, Marie and Alexa, it was so easy to follow, right?
Yeah.
They really tee it up so well that you're like, I'm going to go in, and you want to share, right? You're like, I want people to know, I want people to hear these stories. This creating herstory is so important. It just, women sharing their stories to normalize that it's okay. We can do big things. We don't have to, like you say, be entrepreneurs. We don't have to be in business. It can be for whoever. Just
Yeah.
if you are a woman and you are looking for community and you want to share and you want to help others, this is the collaboration. This is the book. And being able to launch that and then support one another and then celebrate that we were on, #2 in the Wall Street Journal status is just a dream,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, crazy because you're like, wow, this is like high visibility,
Yeah.
but you're all there with it together. And so it's not so scary. It's really joyful. And I think that that's what sets working with you and Bryna apart, and why I just advocate so strongly for other women to jump on with Awakening.
Now you know that one of my main missions with Born to Rise is that you not only go through this in sort of this container, but that you are able to then voice it out loud, stand on a stage, really claim the story you've shared in even a more visible way, which to me is kind of like the photography where you show up, right? You really show up. You were one of the speakers at our live festival, which is part of this whole program, is that we have this live event, which when I first decided to do the book, I thought, I don't know, it's not live, but I wanted to feel alive, which I feel like it did happen, but then still doing this live piece. What did that feel like to outside of writing, or different from writing? What was it like to really stand on that stage with a live audience and share your story, different from writing the story?
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about this morning, and you can probably appreciate this being a photographer. When I got married the first time, the photographer said, you really want to, during the day of your wedding, take little moments and kind of just ground yourself in the space and think of like taking little mental pictures of the day, so that you can store that and go back to it, forever. And I remember driving to the festival and thinking, gosh, I'm so nervous. This is the largest audience I've spoken to date. I'm going to now share my story in words and own it and claim it. And all eyes are on me. And it was exhilarating and terrifying. But then again, I have this, okay, but this, I'm feeling called to do this. I need to do this. And so one of the things when I got there was just to remind myself that this is going to be a joyful moment, or a collection of joyful moments. And I want to remember every single second. And so as the afternoon unfolded, I found myself taking these mental photos of, looking at other women, smiling, looking at our other coworkers standing on stage and owning it and sharing their stories. You coming up on stage and sort of, setting the stage to grant everyone the permission to be up there and just owning it and sharing it. And it was so beautiful. I could have never imagined that the day would be as magnificent as it was. For me, it really solidified that I love doing this. I love sharing these stories. I love talking about what it's like to be a woman in construction. I love sharing the funny stories and the tough moments. And at the end, that there's hope, right? The message is, for me, is always that there is hope. No matter what is going on, we can live lives of joy, balance, and success, and on our terms. And so, the speaking on stage was just, it was phenomenal. And to witness all of the other fellow authors sharing and being brave and courageous. And it was, I'm still like, every day I'm having a tough moment and I'm like, let me go back to the stage. Let me go back to the story festival and just, remember that feeling in that moment. And okay, I'm good. Now I can keep going.
Yeah, and I think what I love about your story is that you you don't bash men, at all. And I've never heard you do that around the construction world. You're just really coming from this perspective of, this is how to be a woman in this male dominated world, but that doesn't mean the men around you haven't also risen and become aware of, and you've done it so beautifully. You've learned how to be with these men and show them that you are capable, that you are able to be in this industry. And I think they've really embraced you because of that. And what a beautiful thing to do and be able to do, is to open up this world for all of us, right? And I know for me that's a very important piece, is not to put anybody down, but we all have had this certain kind of conditioning that we've learned and behaved around for so long. And these stories give us an opportunity to say, we can maybe try and shift that perspective if it's not working anymore, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that divide is just not working, whatever that divide might be.
Right.
Uh, so I love that about you, Michelle, and I loved your story, and it was just so beautiful. So moving forward, how do you think? I mean, you spoke about wanting to share this story more. Can you see that being a part of this process for you, and has this helped you do that?
Absolutely. You know, I always say things unfold and we never really know where they're going to land. And
Yeah,
this is one of those situations. And so it helped me to create, sort of some lunch and learns and some classes around, sort of standing in our power, this idea of how are we rising, both for the women and certainly for the men as well. And I think that it's important because that courage that I had to speak that and have it so well received has given me the courage to keep doing it, to keep talking about it. Because, like you said, there is a divide, and we want to not have a divide. We want to be working together. We want there to be more conversations, and we want to give people the permission to own it and claim it and be who they are and build that foundation and be the best version of themselves and how they're showing up, whether it be in construction or any male dominated industry or even just life in general. And I think that, this book, that story now that is cemented in time, can continue to evolve and grow
yeah.
and go beyond what it's maybe what it was originally thought, and so I love it. The opportunity has just been incredible, and I'm so grateful for it. Thank you.
I could just imagine someone reading this 20 years from now saying, like, wow, we don't even have to worry about that now. There's so many women in construction, right? So
Exactly.
it's a point in time. It really is. It's this point in time that hopefully informs moving forward. Because I know stories that I've read from history have often influenced, like, oh wow, like my mom had to navigate that, or my grandmothers, or women from the past that you know give me this sense of like, wow, I'm glad I didn't live then. And what's more can we what more can we move forward around for other people?
Yeah.
So I love it. Well, I'm so grateful you were in the project, and I'm excited that you will be mentoring the next one of the next authors. And you all will love Michelle, of course. But I hope to see you soon, Michelle. And I hope this book gets out there and your voice continues to get out there. You're so amazing. So thanks for being with me today.
Thank you, my friend. Such a pleasure as always.
All right. Well, you were born to rise, so keep on rising, girl.
You bet. You too.
All right. See you soon.
See you soon.